Hi everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs and I like tools. In this video, I'm going to take a closer look at this ratchet. This is a Craftsman half-inch ratchet, and it's one of the new line of Craftsman ratchets. Now, for years and years, for a century, Craftsman tools were part of Sears. And of course, Sears went out of business, and in the process, it sold off its Craftsman brand. And now, they're no longer made the way they used to be. They used to be made in the US. Now the latest line of Craftsman tools are generally not made in the US. This ratchet is made in Taiwan. It feels like a pretty good ratchet, and this one is serviceable. You can take it apart and service it if you need to, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This particular Craftsman tool, you can see the model number right here. It's CMMT99431, and they make, Craftsman has, the current Craftsman line has at least 3 different half-inch ratchets, all about the same length, but they're all different prices, so there must be some differences between them that warrant the higher prices. They are, like the old Craftsman tools, still lifetime warranted. This particular ratchet has 2 screws, one just above my fingertip here, and one just below my fingertip here. You have to remove the 2 screws. And of course, these screws aren't your usual screw head. This is a Torx T7 screw. So I got this tool at Harbor Freight. This has a variety of very small Torx bits, and it has the T7 bit that we need for this ratchet. So with the T7 Torx bit, let's loosen the screws. These are pretty small screws. Let's loosen the other one. Then we can just spin them out. And you can probably finish it by hand if they're not already loose. These are both loose. Now that the screws are out, simply push the ratchet gear out from the back side, from the button. Just push it out, and out it comes. So there's a variety of parts here. There's the cover plate that the screw's mounted on. Below that, there's a spring ring. And then, of course, the ratchet gear. This is a pretty fine-toothed ratchet gear. And of course, it's in good shape. Now, I have had a ratchet tool where these gears were just clogged with old grease. And of course, the tool didn't work properly. It would skip teeth, and I actually thought it was broken. And I opened it up and found out that the grease was clogged in here. I scrubbed it out with a brush, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And it's now a perfectly usable ratchet. And all these bits came out. This is a toothed gear that's called the pawl, P-A-W-L. This is the component that selects whether you're threading something on or threading it off. And inside, there is a spring attached to this metal stud. We've got to figure out where that goes. We have the selector lever. This, again, is the lever that selects between threading something on and threading it off. So we'll pull it out carefully, and it comes right out. And underneath, there is a ball bearing, so we need to get that ball bearing out. So I'm just going to shake it into my hand. There's the ball bearing in my hand. Put it down here. And there's one thing remaining. There's a hole right here. That's where the ball bearing went. And inside that hole, there's a small spring. So I'm going to knock that spring out. There you go. Again, the spring is in my hand. So now this is completely empty. With it completely empty, of course, this is the right time to clean it. And for cleaning, you want to use something like an old toothbrush. So obviously you don't want to use a current toothbrush, but an old one is perfect. This is what I like to use for cleaning parts like this. This is called Brake Clean, and it's brake cleaner. It's used to clean brakes on cars, and I find it's a wonderful cleaning solvent to clean a lot of things. This stuff, which comes in a red can, is similar to dry cleaning fluid, so I think it is probably a little more gentle to close than some other types of cleaners. There's also brake clean that comes in green cans. I prefer the red can stuff to the green can stuff. So this is what I would use, and I would spray it into the tool and scrub it with the toothbrush and get everything nice and clean. For lubricating, I like to use a very light machine oil, like this is 3-in-1 oil, very light machine oil. I know some people like to use grease or heavy stuff. I don't like to use that. Over time, that can clog the gear, and this is a very fine-tooth gear. It'll be pretty easy to clog. So I like a light oil, and I find that makes the tool work in a very pleasing way. So we're going to go ahead and start the reassembly, but before we do that, I want to talk about this. This is the selector arm that selects between threading on and threading off. And notice it's got a secret little pocket in it right here. So that'll become important in just a moment. So don't forget about the pocket on the selector arm. But the first thing we need to do is we need to put the spring into the spring pocket that's right down in the bottom there. So let's get the spring and put that into the spring pocket. Yeah, you're going to need a pair of tweezers to do this. The next thing is the ball bearing. You want to get the ball bearing into the same spot. So now the ball bearing is sitting on top of the spring in the little pocket down in the very bottom of the tool. The next step is to get the selector arm in, and it goes in from behind. And notice that it has some grooves in it. You want those grooves to go over the ball bearing when you shove it in. So I'm going to start shoving it in, then I'll rotate the tool around. There we go. And there it goes over the ball bearing. Now the selector arm can be operated and the ball bearing is trapped in place. That's the way you want it. Next, we take this spring component with the stud on the end and you put it in with the spring into the little mystery socket on the selector arm. And you might need a tool to line it up properly like that. And if all works well, it drops right in just like that did. With the stud and spring in place, put the pawl gear in. And you need to use the pawl gear to push that stud back into the selector and hold it in place with a screwdriver. And put in the main ratchet gear. So now we can just put the cover back together and we're done. The next step is to put on this spring ring and then the cover plate and the two screws. And thread the screws back in place. You want them in good and snug, but obviously you don't want to over tighten them. There you go, all done. You can use the button to mount a socket on it. Works perfectly. So those are the steps to service this new series of Craftsman half-inch ratchet. This is a pretty good tool. I think it'll work well in my shop and probably work well in your shop. I like it. It feels good in the hand and it looks good too. And of course, like Craftsman tools, it has that full lifetime warranty. But now that you know how to service it, you can fix it instead of just throwing it away. It's better for the environment that way. Hey everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs. Thanks for watching.